Good evening, everyone. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. We'd like to start the town hall meeting and welcome you. I want to thank the Boys and Girls Club for providing this facility. Let's give them a round of applause. I also want to thank the escorts we had in tonight. I want to give you all the boys and girls that gave us an escort tonight. Let's give them a round of applause. So this is the fifth town hall meeting we have had this year. We have had 5 a year for the last 4 years, and would appear that we'll be having 5 a year for the next 4 years. So. I want to thank everybody again for coming. We usually start off with a report from the mayor, some of the things that we're working on or have accomplished. And I think the first thing I want to talk about tonight, I will give this report, and then we'll get reports from the departments, and then we'll have a time for you all to ask questions or we will address some concerns. Whatever questions you have, we'll find answers for them. If we don't have them tonight, we'll get them for you. So the first thing I want to talk about is in January, we are going to start the flyover, which is the flyover will be going over that bad area. And there will probably be a report on that from Chris Brown tonight on the flyover, which will take us over the area where we have that dip that goes to the mall, and we're going to put a bridge over the top of that, which will give us better access into the mall. The roundabout is now open. One lane to the roundabout is open, and I would encourage you to try that. I had a few doubts about the roundabout. I will be honest with you. I kind of am a little bit old school, but after using the roundabout, I thought it was actually quite good because it keeps the traffic moving. And I can assure you, if you miss your turn, you will get another chance because you will continue to go round and round till you. But it's, I was very impressed with that. I thought it's going to be a real. So much so, I would not mind seeing another one. This next year, we will be looking at doing the historic bridges over in the Lafayette area. Everybody familiar with those? We'll be working on those, I hopefully this year. I think we'll have something to the city council in January. We are presenting this year for the first time since I've been an elected official, since 2000, a balanced budget to the city council, which has been quite an accomplishment from the department heads, the staff, and the city council, of course. Tomorrow night, of course, the big discussion will be on the downtown deck location, which we have 3 locations. David will be giving a report on that. One is on the School Street area, which is east of the offices of the Walton Arts Center. We have the Walton Arts Center large parking lot area, and we have the present campus where the theater is one of the areas. The council will be making a decision on that. We have a recommendation to the council, and David will address that later on. I am still meeting with the mayor of Fort Smith. We're looking at doing water transportation up the Arkansas River. Hopefully, we're working as the 2 cities, the second and third largest cities in the state of Arkansas, working together on this project. If that occurs, it will help in a lot of ways. It will help us environmentally because it cuts back to a quarter of the CO2 emissions that's being put out right now. Well, it's the one barge we can float up the Arkansas River would be the equivalent of 80 large trucks. So it will cut back on fossil fuel use, and will drive down the cost, hopefully, of businesses not only in Fort Smith and Federal, but the whole region. And so we're continuing talks on that. We are also will be putting together a new recycling center over by Skull Creek Apartments this year. And we are, tomorrow night, we have wayfinding signage to the City Council, which is about a $125,000 investment that we should have done by mid-year all over town. So that's some of the things that we're working on right now, and I'll take this time to give you reports from the department heads. It's good to see Rhonda Adams and Sarah Lewis. I see Alan Long, who was just there. Congratulations on your election to position 2, Ward 4. That's my old position. It was lively then. I'm sure it will be lively into the future. But congratulations. Wonderful to have the President Alderman's here. Terry, would you like to start with the reports tonight?
Sure. I'm going to just jump ahead. Maybe, hopefully this will not even occur this year, but just in case it does, you'll kind of have an overview of what's going on. As we enter into the winter months, Transportation Division is constantly monitoring the weather. We're looking for long-range forecasting and trying to prepare if they do predict a snow event. And I was watching the weather right before it came, and apparently the end of next week is going to get end of next week is going to be like highs in the 20s. So with a chance of some participation. So we're constantly do that. We have our crews on standby, usually at least 8 hours before a predicted event to occur. We ready all our equipment. We've got several different sizes of brine trucks where we actually can pre-apply brine to the street. And what brine is essentially is a 23 to 26% salt water solution. And if you've seen us around town spraying water on the streets right before it rains or snows, that's what we're doing. And the purpose of that is if we get that coating on the street, we only do it if it's dry. If it's raining, it'll wash it away and we don't get the effect. However, if it's dry, it'll spray that out and it'll almost turn into little white lines, which is just like, salt, like if you sweat a lot in the summertime. But we'll coat the street, and what happens is once the snow starts falling, then it will start, as the moisture hits it, it will reactivate that and it'll turn more into liquid form, and it will kind of put a water-salt barrier between the asphalt and the lowest level of the snow. And what that does so well for us is it prevents it from sticking down so much and gives us the opportunity to possibly plow it off before it sticks. Because you know how we get 4 or 5 inches of snow and you drive on it, then it tends to turn into 1 inch of really nice white ice. So what we're trying to do is prevent that from happening. We've got spreader trucks where we're putting out what we call a road mix, and it consists of 1 part salt and 3 parts of either grit or sand. And that's what's coming out of our spreader trucks, and that's to give traction plus to give more material so we can spread the sand and salt more evenly over the road. So by doing those things, we hopefully prevent that and shorten the event. We're out there. During the snowstorm 2 years ago, we worked 13 straight days, 24 hours a day, and 8-hour shifts. We had our crews broke up into 3 shifts. Pretty much someone was there in those trucks every day. And I brought a few pictures I'll show you. Some of them even go back a little further. It goes, let me talk about this first. This kind of gives you an overview of what we consider as our primary streets that we will go out to and hit first. We try and hit the routes and open up the streets that lead you somewhere. The main streets and the secondary streets that will get you out somewhere. If you do get out of your driveway, you need a place to go safely. So we hit these first. We'll hit around hospitals. We'll do schools if it's not like it was the big snow 2 years ago. We know we weren't going to school for a pretty good amount of time there, so we hit on getting to stores, hospitals, things like that where you needed staple supplies. Once we complete that, then we'll move on to a secondary list of streets. And these are just more minor arterials, collector streets, things like that, where the first ones be all the state highways. We do not wait for the state to get here. We go out and plow because it's our lifeblood in the city to get on those main highways. They're usually concentrating out in the on the interstates first, and then they work their way down the same way onto secondary streets. But this is just like an example. Every crew we send out, we do a snow and ice log sheet where we keep up with how much material we use so that we can better predict in the future what to buy. It gives us also how much the brine we put out there, so we can then go back and look at the event after it's over and decide did we get the right amount of each thing out there, and how did that work during that event. This shows back in '09 a little bit of what we encountered on that Tuesday afternoon. Our crews were out and that we had cleared every city street of all the debris in the street. Well, we started 2 days after with a concerted effort, and in 4 days on Sunday, we had every street cleared by noon and the trails that were in place at the time.
That was a fun time.
Yeah. We broke the mayor in really well that first 3 weeks. But these are just some. A lot of people never saw some of these pictures because they weren't able to get out. You know, we were driving around. I myself was out. We went up Mount Sequoia because we had someone needing an ambulance. And it took us 3 hours to go up Assembly, circle the top, and start back down Assembly. And when we started back down Assembly, we had to cut our way back out just like we cut our way in because the streets were just collapsed like this over. This was more, in fact, that almost looks like Assembly, but everywhere in town looked like Assembly. But it was quite interesting. A lot of trees, a lot of big trees. We were out with seven or eight backhoes and crews cutting and then them pushing it out of the way. That's more after it's quite open and see we got a few cars out. But that's just kind of some overview there. This is more what it looks like when it snows. This is at our shop area where we've got trucks in there reloading with material. We've got snow plows on, I think, 8 trucks now. So we're pushing it as well as spreading the chat and the salt and also spraying the brine. Even once the snow's on the ground, we keep spraying the brine because it puts the material out there that will cause it to melt. Another feature that we bought last year, and if it wards it off like this forever, I'm keeping a good supply of, is we're going to try beet juice, which is like sugar beet juice. It's kind of reddish brown. So if you see us spraying that on the road, that's what it is. And what the point of it is, the salt brine will keep us from freezing down to about 15 degrees. It works really well. We went to a meeting and they talked about it in the Northwest about adding the sugar beet juice. And what that does is take that freezing point down to around 0. So it gives us another 15 degrees to work in. And around here, there's not a lot of times it's below 0, but there is several times it'll get below 15 when we have snow. This is just like our loader loading our spreader down at our supply. You can see our supply material back in the building there. This is Block Street 2 years ago when we had that 16 to 18 inch snow. This is what we were seeing out there everywhere we went, and we were plowing snow that deep. And actually, the plows worked really well. And this is what we've got some dump trucks that also have plows on them. We had those out there also. And it's just some action shots going down the street somewhere. The spreader trucks are spreading behind. He's got a snow plow in the front and a spreader in the rear. We even put the road grader out, usually in tandem with another truck, and that way we can get down pressure with it, and we could actually help push it off. We've also got a new truck coming that'll have a belly plow on it that will give us the same effect, so essentially double our grader ability. And we'd used it 2 years ago on Rockwood Trail and plowed it right off with it in a demo unit. Just another shot of how much snow we had. That's kind of my presentation.
Thank you, Terry, for sharing those pictures. That ice storm was, I think I had been in office 3 weeks when we got the ice storm. And of course, that was before we had the 24-inch snow the next year. And then that was before we had the flood, which was before we had the drought last summer. So other than that, I think things have gone relatively well. But those were challenging times, all 4 of those. But we have a great crew, and they cleaned that whole ice storm up within about 3 months, which was quite a feat in itself. So now, David, you have a presentation for us.
My name is David Juergens. I'm the Utilities Director and also the Project Manager for the Parking Deck Project, which is what I'm going to talk about this evening, and talk about, I think, a little bit more tomorrow evening at the City Council meeting. First of all, I'm going to talk about this evening, I'm going to talk a little bit about the project need, why we have this project, why it's there, what some of the objectives are, sites that we've got under consideration, timeline, how this relates into the downtown master plan, what our current actions are, and some of the selection criteria that the consultant team and the staff team looked at in developing the recommendation for the City Council. First of all, the parking need. About 8 years ago, the City Council selected a consultant to evaluate parking in downtown. And when they did that, they looked at parking need in the entertainment district and downtown area. They looked at all the future possibilities. They evaluated parking needed at that time. They evaluated parking needed if we were to have gotten the 1,200-seat Walton Arts Center Theater. And they also looked at need in between. What they determined is that we need 800 spaces whether the theater was built or not, and that we needed 1,200 spaces if the theater was built. As we know, the theater did not get built in Fayetteville. However, last September, the Walton Arts Center Board did state plans for making a 600-seat or 500 to 600-seat theater expansion within their next 10-year to 15-year master plan. So we established the need with and without any expansions to the Walton Arts Center. If you spent time in that downtown entertainment district area, if you end up going to any kind of event, kind of like I do, which is usually at the last minute, I have inevitably not been able to park at the first or second parking lot that I wanted to park in, and went to the third lot or went further away to find some place to park. When staff did some counts on several occasions in the last several years, they've taken those counts midweek and weekend with and without events at the Walton Arts Center and determined that the parking is full, and full being defined as 90% or more of the spaces occupied. That 10% allows for ins and outs and movement. Approximately 208 days per year. So both the consultant and current staff counts, actual counts in the field, indicate that we need parking, and we need parking now. When the mayor came in office, one of the first things that was requested from the Walton Arts Center Board was, please get us more parking. Wherever, however, please get us more parking. So the constituents in that area recognize that need for parking as well. And to hit the bottom items of another reason of now, as we all know who have CDs, interest rates are about as low as they're ever going to get. If we wait in 5 years, we're all hoping because of those CDs that interest rates are higher, which in turn means that if we're borrowing money in 5 years, we'll be paying a higher rate on the money that we borrow. Additionally, with all of the construction the mayor was mentioning, street construction, other construction, that industry is getting more movement. We're seeing more construction projects awarded from a lot of different variety of customers, and so construction costs are only going to increase. They're pretty low right now still too. So delaying the construction can only increase the costs. Project objectives: provide adequate parking for our residents, our guests, and our visitors that come to the entertainment district in downtown Fayetteville. We really want it to be invisible. We want people to come down and enjoy whatever they're there to do, and not really have to think about parking. Just make it to where they can come in seamlessly, move out and do their entertainment, do whatever they're there to do, and then move on, go back home. If you think about parking very much, then it probably wasn't as successful as we wanted it to be, because we wanted it to be the seamless experience so that they don't think about the parking. We wanted to add approximately 300 parking spaces. That was the target, that was our goal. Plan for current needs, but also plan for long-term future expansion, be it expansion in the vertical direction moving up, be it expansion horizontally adjacent and immediately connected to the parking lot, or expansion in the rest of the area of the entertainment district. Multiple ways to do the expansion. Integrate with long-range plans for the area so that we don't make a parking deck a central focus of anything. We want it to be relatively invisible, but in close proximity to provide adequate support to the facilities that people want to go see, and then be consistent with the downtown master plan. We had 4 areas that were all city-owned lots. We had the WAC lot, which is the big parking lot that everybody refers to, oddly enough, as the WAC lot. The theater lot, which is on the block where the theater is located. Just to orient, that is the Walton Arts Center Theater. This is West Avenue right here. This is Spring Street right here. And this is Dixon right here. And if you've ever tried doing this over your shoulder at an angle like this, it's not as easy as it looks. So we had the WAC lot, the theater lot, the east lot, which is here on the east side of School Street, and then the south lot, which is on the southeast corner of Spring and West. And those were the 4 lots that we were considering. We considered those because they were all city-owned lots. Project timeline, about a year ago, we passed a bond ordinance that approved bond funding and allowed the mayor to, on his discretion, move forward and issue bonds to fund the project, bonds being paid for with revenues from the paid parking program. And so that's something that that's a real good point, is that this is not a tax. This structure will be paid for entirely with fees from people that use the facilities, that use the parking facilities. So those that use these facilities pay for the expansion of the facilities. We then selected an engineer architect team back in February, brought them on board, and they started doing the site selection process. Then we had a number of meetings with the public and with the Walton Arts Center staff, and the Walton Arts Center hired Bora Architects. They wanted to evaluate their expansion plans and make sure that their expansion plans and our parking deck plans would integrate well. And so the 2 teams came together, and with fantastic collaboration, the WAC architects and the architect team the city had hired worked very, very closely together, came up with multiple layouts of how things could work together, and just as importantly, identified layouts of things where they wouldn't work together. So we came out with a plan that was then presented to the Walton Arts Center board in August, and then there was a motion passed in September by that same board relating to how the Walton Arts Center expansion and a parking deck could work together very effectively, whether the parking deck was on the theater lot, on the same block as the Walton Arts Center campus, or off of that lot on a different block. We were really, really pleased with the collaboration there, and pleased that the Walton Arts Center stepped up and said, yes, we want to participate in this project. They invested their own funds to hire the architect, and then the 2 architect teams talked all that architect-y talk, and they understood exactly what they were saying, and the rest of us were kind of clueless, but it was very, very effective. Where we are now is that we are at this point of selecting the site. The City Council, we gave a presentation at the agenda session last Tuesday, and the City Council will be evaluating sites tomorrow evening at the City Council meeting. So for those who are interested, feel free to come and participate. Lend your voice to the discussion. After the site is selected, then the mayor will then be able to issue the bonds in confidence. We'll move forward with the project and start getting this thing built. The next step will be to hire the engineer for the actual design, because the only work that's been done thus far is that which was required to establish that we had a feasible site that would work, and then to present the City Council with adequate information in order to determine the best location. So that's the work performed as far as. We've done no detailed design whatsoever. We've done some basic layouts and footprints, but we are not at all to the detailed design phase, just preliminary design to select the site. After the bonds are issued and award the design contract, we'll then go forward with one of 2 different methods of construction contracting, either through a traditional bid-build method, where we design it and then we do construction bids, competitive bids, or we may go through with an equally competitive construction management at-risk type process, which is what the university has used for their parking decks and we use for the West Side Wastewater Treatment Plant about a mile or so down the road. It can be a very effective method of construction contracting where the construction manager who is selected, he actually does the bidding instead of the city doing the lead bidding. Either of those methods are being considered. We plan to start construction in the middle of this year, sometime in mid to late summer, and then the construction period, depending on the site selection, could last from 12 to 18 months. Downtown master plan, I'm not going to go through and read all of these because when I was standing in the back of the room, even my eyes could see it from there. Essentially, it says that parking needs to integrate with what we try to do in the entertainment district. It shouldn't occupy primary corners of key intersections. That makes sense. You want something that people want to come to occupy those key corners, but it should be close enough to support them. It should be as much as possible concealed or made attractive to public on the street, because your average parking deck is not a very attractive structure. There was one I saw in Kansas City that was actually like a bookstore or a library, and it was cool. I didn't know it was a parking deck. But that cost a heck of a lot more money also. So in weighing out the expenses that we're going to pay, the most attractive method of screening these buildings is to have trees in front and liner buildings in front. So we're trying to do that. And then maximize on-street parking. I think we pretty well nailed that part. We've got parking everywhere we can stick it. Some of the site selection criteria, and again, this is a pretty long laundry list, but it kind of shows the level of detail the consultant had to go through, because there's a whole lot of factors that come into play. Parking deck is not simply a structure for vehicles, because every vehicle that comes in has a pedestrian that leaves from there. So it's a pedestrian structure, it's a vehicle structure, it's a how do you get traffic in and out of it without causing traffic jams on the road structure. How does it remain as invisible as possible? You want to maintain your green space. You've got to maintain the infrastructure. There's a number of challenges. As you know, the downtown Dixon area was originally built a long, long time ago. The water lines that service that area were built prior to 1910. They're a little old, and they're still in use today. So there will be some other work that has to be done in addition to building the parking deck in order to maintain adequate infrastructure to provide for the needs that we have there. Other impacts, there's the impact on revenue. In going back, and I'm just going to go back a few slides, each of these lots has a challenge. This lot obviously is very easy to build on, and as a project manager, I kind of like that, because that's easy for engineers and contractors to work on. But it has the downside of, if we want to net 300 spaces, we have to eat up a lot of spaces in order to build a parking deck there, which means we've got to build, say, a 450 space deck just to gain those 300 spaces. So that's a downside to that site. Plus, there's some serious geotechnical problems. The rock underneath there is pretty fractured. There's a lot of fill. So the foundation and structural challenges there are greater. Also, another impact from all of those spaces we eat up is that we get revenue from those spaces that we're paying the bonds back with. So eating up those spaces during that construction period can create some financial problems that gives Paul more gray hair or less hair. And he doesn't like it when that happens. So he comes over and talks to me. Sorry, Paul. But it creates challenges with our cash flow during that construction period. The center lot, the theater lot, obviously it's got the challenges. If we're going to put it in the recommended site is actually right here, well, there's a building in the way. That's where the Walton Arts Center administrative offices are. So in that lot, there's a significant challenge of removing that 1955 structure and then replacing that structure. So it adds a significant expense while we don't lose many parking spaces from what's there. And while it has minimal impact on the customers to the area, because we just lose those two parking lots, so we're working on an area that doesn't affect our customers and visitors, it has a significant impact on the Walton Arts Center administration staff. Their customers will be happy, the staff might be grumpy. And as the project manager, we're going to be busy because we've got a lot of interaction to make some more moving pieces move correctly and keep everybody in service. We move over to the east lot. That lot was actually was ruled out back in April because the deck would have been maximum height, really small, and right next to residential customers. And they wouldn't like that very much, and it just didn't fit. It took out a number of, that's a pretty well wooded lot for a parking lot. And it was just really challenging and too small that way. And so after doing several walk and talks on sites, the city council in an agenda session said, we don't think we want to look at that. I've got the dotted line on the X there, and then we expanded because the Walton Arts Center Board in their September meeting, when they passed their resolution stating, one, they support the deck, and two, they'd really rather it not be on their campus. But first, they support the deck wherever it goes, and they can work with it. But second, they'd rather it be off their site. They requested we relook at that east lot, and the consultant team did that. But the only way we could make that happen is if we purchased the two lots and the three structures that are immediately south to that lot. Getting back to where I was supposed to be. The staff and consultant team has now finished the study, and that was presented last Tuesday night to the City Council, as I mentioned, and then tomorrow night we will give another presentation to the Council, and then ask the Council for their decision on what site they choose to place the deck upon. The recommendation from both the consultant team and from the administration is to place the deck on the theater lot, which is that lot in the center where the Walton Arts Center campus is physically located. It came out through the evaluation matrix as being the strongest site. Oddly enough, it did not come out as being the one with the most spaces, but it came out as the strongest site when all of the factors are considered. And this is not simply a math equation about parking spaces. It's not simply a math equation about how to build the structure. It's a full, well-rounded decision to be made on the long-term impacts on the entertainment district in downtown Fayetteville. How does it affect our customers? How does it affect our citizens? How does it affect people that come to downtown? And when all of those factors are considered, it was a consensus of both the design team and the administration that the theater lot is the best location. Had a lot of conversation with the Walton Arts Center staff on how we could make that work best, and we had a lot of that beforehand when they're working with their staff and architects in the preliminary stages, and we're having more as we work through the details of how this is going forward. If you have any questions, if you'd like to read the study or look at the presentation that was given to the City Council last Tuesday night, it is available at our website. If you go to www.accessfayetteville.com and go up on the green bar, it says projects, there's a drop-down menu, and parking deck is one of the items on that drop-down menu. And both of those documents and a lot of preliminary documents are at that location. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Paul?
Well, it's budget time. My name is Paul Becker. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for those of you who may not know me. This year's budget presented, the mayor's budget, is $134.8 million. That's everything comprehensive. That includes 25 separate funds, so we have like 25 subsidiaries that we fund here in the city. The budget is up about $13 million compared to last year. The majority of that increase is due to capital expansion and capital improvement programs. The largest portion of those are in solid waste and the water and sewer fund. The water and sewer fund and solid waste are enterprise funds. In other words, they run on a business model. They charge rates to support the system. Therefore, we have to replace capital. As we have the resources to replace the capital, we do so. So some of that increase, about $7.5 million, is due to capital expansion as compared to last year. The rest of it is due to $3.5 million, which is generally personnel. This was the first year that we were able to give salary increases fully across the board to everyone since 2009. And as a matter of fact, in 2009, we're only allowed to give roughly 2/3 of the employees salary increases because the mayor froze it on July 1st. So that's why the budget is up a little larger than last year. Now that's not the entire budget. The entire budget we'll see as we bring forward all the capital programs in progress in January. That'll take our budget up to about $170 million, which will be less than last year because as we do the capital programs, especially the bond programs, we reduce the size of the budget. Of the 25 funds that I talked about that we do fund in the city, 6 of those funds account for 85% of the revenue. So 6 funds dominate. Those are the general fund, solid waste fund, water and sewer fund, shop fund, capital expansion program, or the sales tax capital fund, and the debt service fund, which pays back the principal and interest on those bonds that we issued primarily in 2006. So those 6 funds dominate them. We talk. Usually, you will hear us spend most of our time talking about the general fund and the sales tax capital fund. That's because those are discretionary funds. Those funds can be used on multiple programs. Over 2/3 of the employees are paid from the general fund. Public safety, of course, is the largest sector. That's police, fire, our support services, planning, courts, the clerk, the city attorney, and all my support divisions are paid out of the general fund. As the mayor mentioned, we're happy that this year we can come forward and project a balanced budget for the general fund of $36.1 million. It's the first time we've been able to do that since the mayor has been in office. So it's been a uphill battle. I certainly want to thank the council for working with us. Between administration and the council, we've gotten through these difficult periods, and we're back to kind of where we started at the end of 2008. We couldn't fully fund recommended 4%, which is equivalent to what we call a STEP program in public safety. They go in steps, certain increments, which are about 4% for the full city. At this point in time, we have a contingency of 2%. However, as the mayor told the council, we're going to look at the situation at the end of the first quarter of next year, and if we close out the year successfully, revenues continue to increase the way they are right now. Sales taxes increased about 6.5% compared to last year. That we should be able to recommend to the council and ask their approval for additional appropriations to give salary increases of 4%. Again, remember, most employees here at the city have gone 2 years, went 2 years without a salary increase. Even that doesn't take us back totally to where we were, because we're still freezing 22.6 actually FTEs that we're doing without, that we had on board back at that point in time, and we're freezing to this point in time. So we still have a ways to go before we are actually expanding to the level we'd like to. Again, we don't know what's going to happen to the economy. We all look and talk about financial cliff. We talk about relatively stagnant economy. Most of the estimates I hear about 1.5%. Next year, we're looking at sales tax increasing about 2%, which I believe inflation's going to kick in a bit. We hear inflation estimates about 1.5%, but that doesn't include food and gasoline, which of course are two of the highest accelerators. So I feel comfortable right now that our revenue estimates next year are going to come through. We're estimating about 5.5% increase this year with a 2% for next year, or 7.5% compared to last year. Right now we're running about 6.5%, so I'm very comfortable with that. So the good news is we look like we have a balanced budget. We look like we're certainly doing much better than we were. We don't know what's on the horizon. We have a substantial fund balance that I believe that we can fund bad times if in fact we do experience those. And so that's about where we are moving forward. Looks good now, Mayor, but of course I always say we have to be cautious.
I know. Thank you, Paul. Peter.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Looks like I got ahead of myself. All right, my name's Peter Nierengarten. I'm the Director of Sustainability and Strategic Planning, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the Weddington Corridor Plan. This was the result of a week-long planning exercise that staff led. It took place right here at the Fayetteville Boys and Girls Club just across the hall during the last week of October. This was a charrette-style neighborhood planning process where we asked neighbors and citizens to really envision what they would like to see as the Weddington area continues to grow. As part of the plan, we reminded folks about the goals of Fayetteville City Plan 2030 that talk about discouraging sprawl, prioritizing infill, honoring the traditional town form, trying to develop a more active forms of transportation for folks, so bicycling, walking, public transit, assembling an enduring green network, and then providing attainable housing for all of Fayetteville citizens. The area that we focused on for the plan is a portion of the Weddington Drive corridor from essentially just the east of Interstate 540 all the way out to about 51st Avenue. This consisted of about 424 total acres of land, and about 33% of that land is currently undeveloped. So the focus was inside that red boundary, although we also talked to neighbors and citizens about trying to link Weddington Drive, that corridor, with the surrounding neighborhoods, and thinking of trying to provide and create a more complete neighborhood in West Fayetteville. So as part of the planning process, we talked a little bit about the history of the area. You can see here this photograph, these two photographs, 18 years apart, really illustrate the rapid growth that the corridor has seen. Particularly, this is right adjacent to Interstate 540, and so that rapid growth, coupled with 33% of the area that's still undeveloped, really illustrates and drives home the need for some robust planning in this area. As part of the hands-on design workshop, which took place on Saturday morning, it was a 3-hour event where we broke citizens up into into 6 groups, about 7 to 8 citizens per table. They were led through discussions where they talked about defining a heart of the Weddington neighborhood and for West Fayetteville, developing a neighborhood identity for the Weddington area, and then finally we asked them to think about missing transportation connections and developing transportation options for West Fayetteville. When the groups were finished with their small discussions, each group got up and presented their top ideas to the other 5 groups. And also as part of the hands-on design charrette, we also had folks participate in a visual preference survey, and this is kind of a fun exercise where participants get to choose their preference on different types of infrastructure or development styles. This is one of the examples of one of the slides. So from the input that we got from citizens, staff sat down and started developing several design options for various areas along the Weddington corridor. We presented multiple design options to folks at an open house on Monday evening, and then citizens got an opportunity to give us feedback on those design options. And we took those comments and developed them into 4 guiding principles. The first one was redefining Weddington Drive as Weddington Parkway. The idea with this principle was managing speed and congestion along Weddington Drive while also trying to beautify the streetscape along Weddington. The second guiding principle was envisioning a heart of the neighborhood, and most folks saw that the intersection of Rupel Road and Weddington Drive had the greatest potential to develop as sort of the core of the neighborhood and really the heart of the neighborhood. And folks really told us they wanted it to have a walkable feel of neighborhood services and small businesses. The third guiding principle was developing multimodal transportation connections. So enhancing the bicycle connectivity, the trails, better sidewalks, while also providing for better connectivity for automobiles and public transit. So connecting some of the streets that don't go completely through at this point. The fourth guiding principle was this idea of a green ribbon that connects some of the green and natural spaces out in West Fayetteville. And folks really felt like this green ribbon ought to have multi-use trails and paths along it to connect these locations. Here's the illustrative plan that we came up for the 424 acres along Weddington Corridor. A little hard to see here, but I'll show you some close-ups of it in a second. So along with this, we also developed a master transportation connections plan that identified some of the missing links in terms of streets and trail connections for not just the Weddington Corridor, but essentially the whole West Fayetteville area. Here's a close-up of our proposed design for the interchange with Weddington and I-540. You can see we replaced the 2 signals on the west side of Interstate 540 with a roundabout. Let's see if I can get the laser. That would be right there. And that roundabout then feeds you onto what we're now calling Weddington Boulevard, which is a tree-lined street that has a median running down the center of it. That median will help limit left turn conflicts, improve the flow of traffic along Weddington. We also included a signal here at this is where the exit from the Harps grocery store is. So now you can come out of Harps and you can make a left turn onto Weddington. You can also come up Marvin Street from the south and make a left turn onto Weddington. You can also, if you're a pedestrian, cross the street there because you've got a protected pedestrian signal to get across the street. The bridge over Interstate 540 right here, you can see has a new side path along the north side. Here's a photograph of what that path could look like. That side path is for pedestrians and bicycles. It'll lead you into, with a trail underneath the roundabout, right here into the center of the roundabout. And this is a photograph of what that area could look like, where you can connect with some other trails that could lead you up along Shiloh Drive towards Mount Comfort, or then could also lead you out to a new cycle track along the north side of Weddington Drive. Here is a aerial rendering of what that area could look like. This is looking east. You can see the roundabout at the top of the slide, the new signal and pedestrian crossing here at Marvin and Tahoe. Just want to point out that this idea for a boulevard and a pedestrian and a tree-lined Weddington Boulevard came from some of the top ideas from several of our groups, and it was strongly supported during our visual preference survey. Next area I'll show you is what folks envision as the heart of the neighborhood, Rupel Road and Weddington Drive intersection. Folks strongly supported this concept, their top ideas, and the visual preference survey showed that folks really envisioned this idea of smaller, walkable retail with mixed use. To the northwest of the intersection, you can see there's a green space, so that's sort of a central green that could provide for community gatherings, maybe a farmer's market. It's really designed for passive recreation, for folks to hang out and really congregate around. To the southeast of the intersection, just near the Fayetteville Boys and Girls Club, we programmed in space for, I'm not going to try and hit it with the laser, I'll probably hit Terry in the head, but there's a spot for a future junior high here, and then a little further to the south, this is a senior center. So we really felt like this idea kind of captured the request of this becoming the heart of the neighborhood. Here's an aerial rendering of that green area. Again, a photograph showing that smaller, mixed-use, walkable retail concept. This area up here is smaller, single-family housing that provides a transition from these more intense commercial uses near the green. It helps transition to the existing single-family residences that are to the further to the north and to the west. Final feature of the plan I'll show you is this green ribbon that we essentially copied from Group 6 that connects Bryce Davis Park with this area around the Fayetteville Boys and Girls Club, and it comes down and crosses Weddington Drive near the exit for the Lynx apartments, which we propose to have a signal at that intersection to help both automobiles and pedestrians and bicycles get across the street. So folks strongly preferred the trails during the trails on a separated corridor during our visual preference survey, so we really took that to heart with this design, I think. That trail from Bryce Davis down to the Boys and Girls Club really works well with this idea of creating a loop of a green ribbon throughout West Fayetteville, and also helps tie the whole active transportation network into the city's existing network of trails. So here's some possible next steps associated with the plan. We can work with the Arkansas Highway and Transportation Department on a number of these, including a speed study for Weddington Drive, traffic modeling for the new roundabout and the proposed interchange for 540, and then our boulevard concept. An access management plan would be helpful as well. Some targeted rezonings are likely in order to help promote some of that walkable urban development I talked about, and then amendments to our alternative trails and transportation plan could also come out of this. If you've got questions or want to see some of the details associated with that illustrative master plan, I invite you to visit our website. Follow the links to my department and then to the Weddington Corridor Plan. You can click on that illustrative master plan, and it'll give you a really big blown up view so you can drill down on all the little areas and see all the highlights of what we developed.
Thank you, Peter. Chris?
If I don't put anybody's eye out with a laser, I'm going to walk over here.
Thank you.
My name is Chris Brown, I'm the city engineer. We'll talk a little bit about some transportation projects and our federal program, both in local and city law. First, right here, just outside the door, the extension of Rupel Road, and that is from the Boys and Girls Club is about right here. So that will extend Rupel Road all the way down to Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. We also are going to look at this existing section of Rupel Road and the intersection with Weddington as part of this same project to look at potential widening or intersection improvements at the very least at Weddington. The second project is Van Ness Drive Extension. That's a project that we've wanted to do for a while. The funding has been put off until the third bond issue. And so in 2014, we are looking at being able to have some additional funding for that. So we are designing that project right now. I should say the Rupel extension also is in the third phase of the bond issue. We will begin design on that beginning in 2013. So that project is coming up. The mayor mentioned the Highway 71B flyover. Very exciting project. The council was very excited a couple of weeks ago to approve the project, the construction of that project, and we'll be beginning construction in early 2013, January 2013. We're really just working on paperwork and getting the contractor here and getting them mobilized. I do have a picture of that, just in case you guys haven't seen this before, don't really know what the concept is. Sorry, I'm going to use my pointer. This is Millsap Road. So just after if you're coming north on 71 towards the Joyce, and Joyce Boulevard is up here, just off the page. We, of course, have a lot of traffic that comes up to Joyce, makes a U-turn, and gets back onto the Fulbright Expressway. About 25% of the folks who make left turns at Joyce are actually making a U-turn to get back onto the Fulbright Expressway. So that's a very inefficient movement, obviously. So this flyover, it's pretty simple. A ramp will begin climbing up right next to North College. We'll go over this is Fulbright northbound, and then these are the southbound lanes of Highway 71B. So cross over those, and then this is the westbound Fulbright Expressway, a bridge over that as well, and then go on about your way down the Fulbright Expressway. Or, alternatively, and probably as importantly, an additional interest into the shopping area. This is Olive Garden right here, so right at the corner of Mall Avenue and Shiloh Drive. So, very exciting project. It's about an 18-month project, so probably middle of 2014 we're looking at seeing completion of this project. It will disrupt traffic, probably will require closing lanes of North College Avenue for a period of time. Also some work on the Fulbright Expressway. And we will have to close the road completely as they're installing the main beams of the bridge. That'll be a relatively short term, just a few minutes or hours at a time, and mostly during the nighttime hours.
Those road closings always make the mayor extremely popular.
And the mayor mentioned the roundabout. I don't have a picture of it, but we don't need a picture because now you guys can actually drive by and take a look at it, drive through it yourself. The mayor mentioned he's pleased with it and is happy with the way it looks. And to that, I just say, give us a chance to get it done, and you'll really be happy if you like the way it's working now, because it will have 2 lanes. It will have an additional slip ramp so that you won't even have to go through the roundabout if you're going towards Gregg Avenue. So it functions well. It really is working well even under construction, but once it's completed, we really are I think are going to see a marked improvement at that intersection. This is just a picture of some of the construction projects that are coming up in 2013. Some of them are under construction already. Crossover Road on the east side of town. Of course, this is the flyover. The roundabout, hopefully in the next 2 to 3 months, will be completed with that. The Highway Department will also be starting on Highway 16 here on the southeast part of town, and on Garland Avenue, Highway 112, just north of the university. Those are both projects that the city is partnering with, but the Highway Department will be handling the construction. And then lastly, this is Cato Springs Road in this area. I always bring my notes up here and I never look at them. Okay, moving on to trails. This is one that we just completed earlier this year. This is the Meadow Valley Trail. Skull Creek Trail is over here, so this follows along, comes all the way to Porter Road, right here at the light. We do, of course, have a weakness in this trail at this point because we don't have this piece of work completed underneath the highway, which will connect to our bike lanes on Mount Comfort. That's stuck in permitting with the Highway Department. We've been for about 2 years trying to get the permit approved. We think we're getting very close, but we've thought that for a little while. So, but we do, as soon as this permit is in, and as soon as we can get the crew mobilized, that section of the trail will be done. This is just kind of overall of 2013 construction. 2013 is probably going to be our biggest year in the history of the Trails program. A lot of that is due to the Walton Family Foundation, the additional funding they provided for a couple of the trails that we have on here. So we're really, the program is accelerating, and it's really going to be a very big year. I'll go through these quickly. I have some additional detail of some of these, but this Lake Fayetteville, it's under construction. If the weather will cooperate, we'll be done January, probably. If it doesn't cooperate, it'll be sometime in the spring. We're down to most of really just getting the asphalt down, and that gets to be difficult this time of year to find a window to do it. Clear Creek Trail is one that is part of the Razorback Greenway. That's actually being constructed by a private entity through that's working for they're working through the Walton Family Foundation. It's a little complicated, but anyway, that is under construction right now as well. Meadow Valley Trail, we talked about that little piece we do have planned for 2013. And then down in the south part of town, the Frisco Trail extension, that is also one to be funded by the Walton Family Foundation. Town Branch Trail here, further down across the university property, it's actually funded by a transportation enhancement grant through the Highway Department. And then lastly, Zalagi Trail, which parallels Martin Luther King. So this is the Lake Fayetteville Trail. It just completes the loop around the lake. It's the green line that you see right through here. Again, nearing completion. The Clear Creek Trail, that will connect. This is where Skull Creek and Mud Creek Trail come together. This will take you all the way up through Johnson, past the mall. This is the mall right in here. This is the mall. And then all the way to Lake Fayetteville. So this will complete the connection through Fayetteville of the Razorback Greenway. We also have that connection. This is a connection that will be up to the mall parking lot. Will function as an additional trailhead, so you could actually park at the mall and jump on the trail there. The southern extension of Frisco Trail, this is the very south end of the Razorback Greenway. So it's part of the Greenway, and again, funded by the Walton Family Foundation. This is Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. This is the very southern end of the current Frisco Trail. We do plan a below-grade tunnel crossing across MLK, and then down along the Tanglewood branch. This section of trail was actually constructed by the apartments. They were built at the old sale barn property. So we'll be connecting the two ends of that, continuing on across Highway 71B, and then down to Walker Park, down in this area. The Town Branch Trail, it's a little further south. This is 15th Street up here. So this is Town Branch here. School Avenue, this is actually Mama Dean's, is right in this area. Comes along, and this is mostly all university property, and it goes to Great House Park. It's a relatively short segment of trail. We do have, again, federal aid funding through the Highway Department, but it will have as we make continued connections on this Town Branch Trail, it really makes a lot of connections, and I'll show you that. I've got another slide of that. This is the Zalagi Trail. This is Frisco Trail over here, so it connects just south of MLK, parallels MLK, connects up several of the new apartment complexes in this area, and we have it going all the way to Hollywood Avenue by the fire station. I wanted to just show this slide, and I know there's kind of small and there are a lot of detail here, but we do every year use basically just striping and signage to create additional on-street bike facilities. These are basically streets that we add sharrows, we add bike lanes. Probably seen these. These are what we call sharrows. And essentially it enhances and adds to the trail system. We're able to get about 6 miles per year for about $30,000. So it's a good, inexpensive way to really help with our trail system. In the west area, we do plan some additional work here around, this is Bryce Davis Park. I think what we found as we talk to folks over here on this side of town is that, Bryce Davis it's a really nice park, but it's a little bit tucked away, and so by adding additional signage, helping people find it, we think that'll be a good benefit. So I've talked a lot about trails and maybe not so much about Ward 4 trails. I live in Ward 4, so I'm interested in trails on this side for sure. So I did want to talk a little bit about what we have going on in Ward 4 as far as the trail system. This is the overall 5-year trail construction plan. Zoom in a little bit to Ward 4. Basically, the trail system in Ward 4, and I'm talking mostly west of 540, Clabber Creek Trail runs to the north up by Sam's Club and through along Clabber Creek through the Clabber Creek subdivision. Hamstring Creek Trail, of course, follows Hamstring Creek. And then down here in the south is Owl Creek, down just south of here. So we have parts of these that we're looking at, but really the first trail in 2014 that you see is the Shiloh Trail, which connects all of those trails. So between Weddington up to Mount Comfort and then continuing on to where the Shiloh Trail ends up towards Sam's Club, we want to make that connection. And this will allow these trails that come into it, you'll be able to come up here, get across, get on the Meadow Valley Trail, and really make that connection over to the main part of the trail system. So it's a bit of a long process. I think we've got some 2015, 2016, 2017 schedules up in this area. So there's still a lot of work to do out here, but we certainly do have a master plan and are working toward that. One thing that Peter talked about was this interchange. The good news is that interchange is going to be improved by the Highway Department. They have it in their plan. They will be doing that work. I think they've got it scheduled for 2015 or 2016. So that roundabout that we talked about and the way those trails come together, it's a really neat plan. I don't know if you're able to see all the detail of how that will work, but it's really neat. If we can get the Highway Department to agree to that, and we haven't done that yet, we've still got some discussions with them, but if we can get the roundabout and the trails connection at this point, we feel like it can really help. I mean, this Weddington is this area, the pedestrian access is pretty difficult, and so some of those improvements that Peter talked about, we feel like can really be beneficial. And that's all I have.
Chris, would you go back to your street overall master plan? I want to show the folks something.
I think I know what you want to show.
Yeah, I think you do too.
You like that one?
Yeah, where's Van Ash?
We just go back to, there we go. Van Ash is
Right there.
here.
Now, show them where the new Van Ash is, somewhere in there.
This is the extension of Van Ash right
Okay.
here.
Y'all remember where we did the new Van Ash over there, up by the mall? Now, what we plan on doing is hooking up where that new one stops, and we're gonna drive it straight through to the Sam's Club. Probably we'll be doing construction on that hopefully maybe this year. What do you think?
Potential. We will have the design ready to go. The funding is something that we still have to get worked out.
Now, this is going to give you two accesses into the mall. You've got that flyover on the one side, and then you have Van Ash that would be more on the other side. So you can go all the way from, say, University of Arkansas campus, go down Garland, and go to the Sam's Club, and then hook up right there and go straight through. You'll come out about where TGIF is, but you don't have to get back on I-540. And also the flyover will take you from College into there. So there's two different directions we're going in. That's vitally important. Also, one thing that I did not mention tonight on sidewalks. Now, I have heard since I've been an alderman how important sidewalks are, and we haven't had the money, but through the new state highway tax that we've got in, we've been doing about $500,000-600,000 a year on sidewalks. Probably starting this year, we're going to do around $1.3 million of sidewalks in this city. So we're going to be building almost 3 times the amount of sidewalks, because we're going to put about as much money in the sidewalks as we've been putting in the trails. I'm going to make sure that occurs. So I want you to know that before we go on. So, Connie.
We saved the fun thing for the last. Connie Edmonston, I'm with Fayetteville Parks and Recreation, very proud to live in this city. As you see, our city, we totally love our city and the many things that it has, the natural features that our city has, the habitats and everything. It just all melts together. And it comes to Parks and Recreation. And that is our goal, as you can see, is to meet the needs of our people and to take care of our environment. And we take that with pride, to have a visionary planning program and also to be good stewards of our environment. Our city has over 3,800 acres of parks. And that consists of not only our parkland, our trail corridors, our natural areas, and our lakes also. One of our largest pieces of property is Lake Fayetteville. It's comprised of 630 acres. You can find about everything you would like to do there. There's fishing and boating. We have softball there, a softball league that goes on. We have a disc golf course there, sand volleyball course. Botanical gardens are located there. In addition, we have the Environmental Study Center, in which the city has an agreement with the Fayetteville and Springdale Public Schools, in which we allow them to utilize 200 acres there to educate our children about the environment there. They have a great program, and I think it's noted throughout the state for what they do there. Lake Sequoia, I'm going to go on down to the southeast part of our city. Lake Sequoia Park, 1,400 acres. This is actually our largest park. We have a boat dock there, a boat ramp, and a marina there. Our Boy Scout clubs have been very instrumental in placing a trail around the lake. They're about 2/3 of the way around the lake, and they continue utilizing that for Eagle Scout projects and just to have a project there. A great place to go bird watching, a great place to go hiking. And then we have Lake Wilson. Those are our 3 lakes. How many of you all been to Lake Wilson? Okay, for those of you not raising your hand, make certain you put that on your list of to-dos for 2013. We had 320 acres there. It is an off-leash dog park, so you can take your dog and let him run. Make certain your dog knows to come back. You have a come back call because he can run forever, and there are a lot of rabbits and deer, a lot of habitat out there that they can have a lot of fun. You can spend the whole night out there looking for it. But we do have a lake there. There is some fishing in it. There's a pavilion. There's a trail that surrounds the park there. We have 3 community parks located, four community parks located in throughout our city. I'm going to take you first to Gully Park, which is over on the northeast side of the city on Township and Old Wire Road. There are 28 acres there. That, of course, is home of the Gully Park Concert Series. Every summer we have 6 concerts that we have there on Thursday nights, and they're free for you to come and enjoy. The only thing you have to do is either bring a blanket or a chair to sit upon. We do have food vendors there that are available, or you may bring your own sack lunch. We also at the center of our city have Wilson Park, 23 acres there. We kind of call this our flagship park. It's where our municipal swimming pool is. We are making great strides to improve our swimming pool. We just redid the inside shell of our pool and also the concrete around it. And then next year we will be planning to renovate the buildings, the bathhouse and all. We have 6 tennis courts there. 2 of the courts we are renovating and with a grant from the United States Tennis Association. 1 of the courts will be made into youth tennis courts, so there'll be 4 youth tennis courts there. And that should be happening possibly starting sometime this week. When I get back to your side of the city is Bryce Davis Park. Actually, Bryce Davis was our first park that we received from the Parkland Dedication Ordinance. There was 8 acres that we received. Then when the Lynx came in, we obtained the other acreage to have a 26-acre park. Of course, we all know it as the Imes Dog Park. Do we have any dog lovers here besides me? Yeah, it's a great place to go. There's a pavilion, a playground. The trail system will go through this park, and I think that's kind of it. We do have 2 dog parks there. One is for large dogs, and it encompasses about 2 acres, and the other 1-acre park is for the smaller dogs. And then another community park that we have is Walker Park, which is located in the southeast part of our city off of 15th Street. There's 74 acres there. It's home of baseball right now. We also have our senior adult center there. There's 3 pavilions there. If you would like to reserve a pavilion, we allow you to do that on our website, and it is free, but we ask you to schedule it so that we can avoid 2 birthday parties or family reunions being at the same time. There are some tennis courts there and basketball courts that are all lighted. And also we have our Grinder Skate Park. That is our only skate park. It is highly used there. There's some multi-purpose fields in between there. Our trail system. I think you've heard Chris Brown talk about it. It's very unique the way our city operates our trail system, and I think you can see that's the importance that our city puts on the health, into the health of our citizens. The trails coordinator basically designs the trails and gets the easements and the land, hopefully, usually through donations, or utilizes park land to start the trail program. And then once we're ready to build it, most of the time our transportation department, over there with Terry Goley, they have a trail building crew. They'll build the trail, and then it comes back to Parks and Recreation. We basically program the trails, we help maintain them. Transportation does some maintenance along it for us too. But it's a very unique situation where we work as a team, and we put all our resources into it to make it, in Cityscapes, the #1 trail system in Northwest Arkansas. Yay. Um, Just a couple of treasures I'm going to tell you about. Charles J. Finger Park, which is located off of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. There's 19 acres there. There's a wonderful trail that leads throughout it. There's a couple of pavilions there that you can utilize, a playground. The trail is awesome. It goes up to a little bluff area. It's great for younger children. There's a little bit of an incline on it. And we also have a basketball court there, and we also made a soccer field there. People love soccer to death here in our city, and we needed to put some others to kind of reserve the fields that our children play on. We put a field out there. And another jewel is Mount Sequoia Woods, which is located off of Happy Hollow Road and at Paddock Drive. We have a beautiful pavilion there that's great for family outings. It's on the east side of Mount Sequoia, and there's trails that lead all around that park. Now on the recreation part of it, we have several different programs. I'm going to run through those. We have our adult softball program that runs in the fall, the spring, and the summer. And we have a men's flag football league that just finished up this fall. Over at the Yvonne Richardson Center, we have a co-ed league that has become very, very popular. There's the fall and the winter. Right now we're taking winter sign-ups, so if anyone is interested in playing, get your team sign up, or if you don't have a team, call us, and we have a list to help form some new teams. We also have in the fall and summer co-ed co-ed kickball. It's at Walker Park. We play it. I think it's on Mondays and Tuesdays and some Thursday nights. And also we have pickleball going on at the Yvonne Richardson Center. We have many other programs that go on at the Yvonne Richardson Community Center for youth. So if you have any children or grandchildren or children in your neighborhood that need some wholesome educational programs, contact the Yvonne Richardson Center, and we have those programs for you. The city also partners with many other entities, such as the Fayetteville Boys and Girls Club. The city contributes $250,000 a year to them to help them with their programs. We have a contract with them so that we do not duplicate services, in which Boys and Girls Club basically offer programs for indoor recreation, and we do the outdoor recreation. With the exception, they run the football program for you, and they have their summer camps, and so do we. But we work together as a partner so that we can offer the best and most diversified recreation programs for you. Youth programs, don't want to forget those. In the fall and spring we have youth soccer going on. This year we had over 1,300 children. We are the largest soccer program in the state of Arkansas. We're proud of that. We started at age 3. We have a girls softball program in the spring, and we also have several youth programs that go on in the summertime. We have a kids crop program at the Yvonne Richardson Center that teaches kids how to grow gardens, how to grow plants, how to grow food, how to cook the food. And then we have the Be Active summer camps, the outdoor adventure camp that meets out at Lake Fayetteville. They learn to kayak and ride the bike and hike the trails and learn about nature. And we have Camp Wilson, and we have a soccer camp, a drama camp, and also a tennis camp. Community programs, I've already talked about the Gully Park concert series. We have the Wilson Park swimming pool, in which we have 3 dive-in movies in the summer, and that's sponsored by the Fayetteville Firefighters Association. They give us funds so that we can rent movies. We'll put a great big 25-foot screen on top of the pool bathhouse, and we'll have some tubes, and people can go play in the water and float around and watch the movie, or you can sit in the side and watch it. And then we also have our community gardens at Walker Park in Jefferson. Sign up for those gardens will be in the spring. We have Art in the Park in the fall at Wilson Park. And of course, right now, we have Lights of the Ozark. And Lights of the Ozark The lights come on at 5, they go off at 1, and they'll be on every night until December 31 at midnight. They're going to turn off for good. So those are all put there for your involvement. And there's many ways that you can volunteer in our programs. There's kind of a list of some of them. And you can contact us on Facebook, Twitter, and on our website. Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you all. What questions do we have tonight? Or comments? Yep, come on up, Jim.
But I do have a real serious question.
Okay.
When you started talking, I started thinking of all the disasters we've had, Joplin, New York. In New York, they were having problems getting people up because there was a union problem and all this kind of stuff. And the resources just really weren't there to come together for a massive disaster. If we need, even if it's like salt, more materials to put on the road, have we addressed that, a far-reaching way of taking care of those logistics for manpower, vehicles, and materials?
Yeah, I mean, we've dealt with that in the past on that. We stock around 400 tons of salt, which will probably take us anywhere between 3 and 4 weeks event. The longest one in the 10 years I've been doing this was 2 years ago, and it went 13 days. We did not come close to running out at that time. We usually get our salt in out of Kansas. However, in the past, if we've run into a need, we can actually get it out of Morrilton also, which is south of us. So by the time we were needing some a few years ago, we just mobilized some dump trucks and went and got what we needed. We did not wait for it to be delivered. So we feel like we're well prepared for that as far as a snow or ice event from a salt standpoint.
Jim, I also want to address, when I first came into this office, I was 3 weeks in, and when the ice storm hit, I wanted to know what our emergency plan was, and we did not have one at that time. Now we have one now, and it took us a year or so to develop that plan. So whatever disaster might hit the city, we have an emergency plan that we will go by, and we have certain things that we do. When I was at the University of Arkansas, we were trained. We took disaster training up there in case something happened on campus. We would be prepared to do certain things. We're prepared to do that now much more than what we were when I first came into this office. So, what else do we have?
Aubrey Shepard, Show and Tell. There was a butterfly in here this morning when I got up, but I had to release it during the day while it could fly. It was a Gulf fritillary. And inside the box, you can see the tiny chrysalises. There are at least 2 that are still alive, and I hope will hatch on a warm day like tomorrow. It's potentially warm. And one of the reasons there are several reasons to show these things. They're still developing this time of year if the weather permits. We've had some pretty large pretty heavy frost a few times already, but some of these were collected after, the caterpillars were collected after the first 2 or 3 frost nights. And it hadn't been cold enough, long enough to kill the passion vines. On the whole earth, the only plant the caterpillar of a Gulf fritillary can survive on is the passion vine. Passion flowers are beautiful purple things, and we called them maypops in North Louisiana when I was growing up because they had those little seed pods, and people actually ate those seed pods in some form. Anyhow, the timing of this is important for another reason. On the downtown square, when the lights are put in, all the flowers are cut back. Now, for 3 weeks after the flowers were cut back to install the lights, I'm not talking about the ones up in the trees, I'm talking about the beds. Those were all cut down, and just to sum it up, I'll let a little girl sum it up who was on the square one of those Saturdays at Farmers Market. she'd been seeing the butterflies I was bringing pretty often in the box that were hatching out during the summer, and talking about them. She could identify them, and she was maybe 3 or 4. I don't remember. Pretty small. But she walked up to the flower beds that Saturday after they were cut down and all the lights strung in there way early, and looked at it and said, "What happened to the flowers?" Because we've been looking at the butterflies on the flowers, using the flowers. And I said, "Well, they had to cut them back to install those lights, and they're about a few inches apart, strings of lights all through the flower beds." And she said, "Nature is more important than Christmas lights." So I'm just suggesting that maybe we could do with fewer down in the base of the flower beds, and we'd still have butterflies. This year it would have been about 3 or 4 extra weeks on Saturdays. We would have had some butterflies using those flowers, and this will actually save some work and money. But anyway, a lot of people do this. They collect caterpillars and the host plants. You have to collect the leaves and keep adding to them to propagate them, especially like Gulf Whittleberry is similar to the monarch in having to go south for the winter. That's why they call it Gulf, as in Gulf of Mexico. Another habitat item. Tonight at Connie's Park Board meeting that just ended before this, I got my first inkling that a group was asking permission to put about 17 blocks worth, linear feet probably, by an undetermined width to allow Frisbee golf in the wooded areas of Walker Park. Now, this area has been protected since the park. Maybe Mayor Connie could tell us what year Walker Park was acquired. Do you remember?
I was here, but I can't tell you for certain what year. It was early 1996, maybe 95. I can't recall.
I think it was earlier than that, but anyway.
Well, I'm talking about the new area.
Oh, the new area.
Yeah, that 40 acres that you're looking
Yeah.
at.
This is the hillside and hilltop area where the senior center is. And it's all wooded from 13th Street up to 7th Street. And it's the part that includes the senior center.
So you're saying they're wanting to take the trees out to put in a Frisbee?
Well, they say they're not taking out major trees, but they're taking out most of the vegetation, which is just as important as trees, understory. And of course, there is honeysuckle, Japanese and China honeysuckle, which should be removed if possible. Keeps coming back. I've worked on that for years, but anyhow, you got to dig out the roots and so forth. But anyhow, this would be the first real destruction of habitat in that part of the park. There was a parking lot built a couple of years, 3 years ago on the south end of that part to increase parking for ball games and such. And of course, the senior center is inside that property. But anyway, this one young man discussing it, I asked how wide these right-of-ways for the Frisbee throwing would be. And first one said, 50 or 60 feet. And then after hearing that would destroy a lot of habitat, many acres of habitat, it's 17 blocks long approximately, then it was revised downward. They might not be that wide. And I hope that's true. But Park Board has approved it and it'll go forward. So, but I think with our emphasis on the Enduring Green Network, which we talked about in terms of the Weddington intersection and so forth, and other areas of the city, and our habitat preservation goals of keeping this an officially listed certified habitat city, habitat community, then we should look carefully at something this radically different inside that part of Walker Park. Let's see, quickly move on. I was I'm thrilled to see the tunnel work being done. Trail administrator's not here tonight, I guess, but the tunnel work, not a new tunnel that disrupts the street and so forth, but the old tunnel where the railroad went east-west on what we were calling Sologee Trail. That's between the Hill Place Apartments and Rocher Hill, Rocher Heights. It's now going to be a new student apartment complex. But anyway, they removed soil and rock and so forth to fill that old tunnel years ago, and it's being prepared to again have a trail over what used to be the trestle, which is still there and I hope to goodness can be used, and they won't need to build a new bridge there, and then straight through the old railroad tunnel, which I have pictures of from the 1930s or so, but it's been hidden behind vegetation and so forth and buried full of material. That is a great new thing. On the other hand, just down the street on the other side of the Hill Place Apartments, last night I stopped because there was a big hole. They dug a trench across, and this was a maintenance thing. Somebody said we should have called the police. Should have. I was hoping they'd notice it. But the guys with that trench for utilities under Hill Avenue have these very heavy metal plates. They're the length of one lane, so there are two of them in the street. And last night there was a gap of about 3 or 4 feet, big enough for a small car tire and maybe a huge tire if it goes down in there to break an axle or something or blow out a tire, or a bicyclist, and we got lots of bicycles and motorbikes, particularly on Hill Avenue, because the students are using them so much more now. So it was very dangerous. And so I tried to move it, and I no longer can bench or deadlift as much. And another young man came along that's the age when I was doing that several times my body weight, and he and I together couldn't lift that thing. So when I left tonight, I left home, they had moved it partly back, but it's still not quite in position. And I'm really hoping those workmen, whoever's last to leave the site, will use the biggest machine they've got to be sure that thing closes up that hole every night. And okay, what else?
What else do you
It's
have
time
in
to
your
go
hand?
home. We're going to stop with what I've written on my hand here.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Frisbee, we've talked about.
Yes, we
Pardon?
yeah, you talked about the
Okay.
Frisbee.
Thank you very much for listening.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Anybody else? Yes, come on.
As a resident who spent a year out of town, I keep up with Fayetteville stuff by the Fayetteville Flyer. That's definitely a jewel.
Would you
we have here.
introduce yourself?
I'm
sorry.
Casey Willits from Ward 4. I heard that this new trail got built on the north side of the University Farm, and excited to go ride it with my mom. It was a windy day, but we got to go do it on Saturday, and it was wonderful. But I was amazed by the number of dogs that A, had crapped on the sidewalk or the trail, but B, that were not on leashes. And so I kind of wondered where Fayetteville's leash law and the priorities of just, plainclothes officers or bike officers. I've never seen someone receive a ticket on the trail for an unleashed dog, but I know that the city spends time and money ticketing people who don't wear seatbelts on the road. I've seen people pulled over for this. I have multiple friends who've been ticketed for seatbelt violation, but I have never once heard of a friend or acquaintance or anybody seeing, hearing ever of someone being ticketed for a dog off the leash on the trail, which is very dangerous to a cyclist. I had one dog physically, get up and touch my leg, didn't bite me, but while riding, and it just seemed a little ridiculous that I know the residents should have better sense, but sometimes maybe our police officers can show them some better sense by ticketing them and making it just kind of a known thing that it's not going to be accepted on our trails. So that was just something I noticed, but after a year away, I was glad to be on the trails anyways.
Thank you. Who else? Okay. All right. Thank you all for your input tonight. I certainly wanted to thank tonight the Boys and Girls Club for providing us this facility. And I want to thank Chris Giesler and that staff for filming this tonight and all the work that you did. And I want to recognize Shirley Lucas, who was Alderwoman from Ward 4, and we worked together a long time. So it's good to see you, Shirley. So, thank you all very much. Yes, Linsley? What? Huh?
Sandra.
Oh, sorry, Sandra. Sandra Smith, City Clerk's here tonight. Thank you, Sandra, for being here. Well, there you go. Okay, if there's not anything else, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight and appreciate it.